Afternoon, guys and girls. Just a short video to run within Steve's thread on the Winmau stealth flights. He invited opinion on the product, so I thought I'd tag a set onto my last order from DC, which arrived this morning. I needed some wax and I wanted to try some different stems as well. So I invested in a set of these, just one set, because I just want to have a look at the difference, how it's going to affect my throw, and what sort of balance you get from them on my darts. So I didn't want to jump straight in and buy a few sets. I just wanted to buy one set and have a look, see what they're like. Packaging is quite impressive. I'm not so sure after opening it once you'd really want to be carrying that around in your pocket. I'm a little bit biased really, because I like L-style products, and their packaging I feel is a bit superior to these. But it's Winmau's first dip into the market on this type of flight and stem, so I'm not going to criticise too heavily. What I will say is reiterate what Steve said as part of the thread, when he said that it was difficult to get them out and you have to flatten them because you can see that they're hooked into slots. So really they're a durable flight. They look durable. They're quite thick, a lot thicker than the L style flights, to be fair. But all I've done is just squeeze the two together and pull it out. That does alter the shape of the flight slightly, if you can see that. But as with most of these things, you can obviously manipulate it so you're getting that perfect 90-degree angle on the flight. So we'll get these out. As you can see, I've just ripped that a little bit just to make it a little bit easier, because I can't foresee me using that packaging in the future to carry these around. I've got a nice case now that I can put preloaded darts into, so there'll be no need for that. As you can see, second flight out, and they're not quite bang on shape for a start. But as I said, you can just push them around a little bit and get them where you want them to go. I'm just looking at the packaging for the stems, and obviously, like I say, keep comparing to L-style because that's what I've been using for so long now. But if you look at the difference in the packaging, there's a big difference. Now you might say L-style shafts, stems, a bit more expensive, so you're probably paying a little bit for the packaging. That's a fair comment. I can't argue with that. But the difference between the two is pretty obvious, really. But as I said, Winmau's first attempt at these type of stems. Anyway, so let's have a look at these. If I can work out how to get the packaging open. It's got to be, there we go. Okay, so these can be placed back into this, I'm assuming, if it sticks down afterwards. Yeah, so can reuse that packaging, so that's handy enough. Okay, so I just measured my current setup, which is Laro 190s, silent, with champagne ring flights from L-Star. And from the end of the barrel to the tip of the flight, I've got 62mm. So I'm just going to have a look at these and make a comparison for the length. don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference to my throw. I don't grip anywhere near the stem. I only grip the barrels, and I have a finger on one of the points as well. So yeah, I mean, usual thing. They screw straight in, 2BA threads, I'm assuming. Yeah, and they feel nice and tight in there, and nice and flush to the barrels. Even though these barrels are quite thin, about 5.6, the Dragons. From what I've been told, you just push it down, click it in. Yeah, nice click. They cosmetically they look quite nice. I like a black stem and black flight. Don't know why. Maybe something to do with my character. So yeah, they fit in nice and snug, nice and tight. There is an amount of play. Anybody that's seen my L style video will see that I can actually flick mine round quite easily on the silent stems with L style. But that has got movement. How much movement it'll have when it strikes another dart in the board, but we'll have to wait and see. But certainly it's quite a nice looking setup. I'm not going to complain about that. And the only thing I'm not quite sure about is obviously you're losing some aerodynamics in the flight with that ridge that goes straight through the centre of the flight. But obviously with the type of setup it is, you're not going to avoid that, and we might find that it doesn't affect the flight too much. Now I'm just looking at that flight, and you know, one thing you do get with the L style is a flight straight out the box that's dead on 90 degrees. No arguments at all. These I'm just having to manipulate them a bit into that 90 degree. Just wondering whether that might cause me problems in the future, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. So anyway, there you go. Last thing is just to check the measurement, and I'm now 3mm down on what my sorry, more than that. I was at 62. No, I'm actually slightly longer. I'm now at 64 millimeters, so an extra 2mm I've got on the length of my dart. It's probably due to that little knobble on the end, which I'm not so sure about regards Robin Hoods and deflections. I can't imagine you getting a Robin Hood on that, because you'd have to throw your dart fairly hard to stick it into that plastic. So I can imagine Robin Hoods aren't going to be a problem with this flight, but I'm not so sure about deflections. Obviously, the further the dart is away from the board, the harder the surface it hits, the more it's going to deflect away from your trajectory. And you know, the difference between the two is that the L style ones, you have got that little knobble on the end, but it's not nearly as big, and you've got a lot of room on the angle, inside the angle of the flight. But these look quite nice, so only remains now is to have a chuck with them and see how we go. I'll try and do a little bit of warming up first, so I don't disgrace myself, and we'll see how we go. But it certainly looks like a nice setup. The actual flights, I don't know, they look a little bit cheaper than the L style, and they look a bit chunkier. So let's see what happens. But I did notice on the thread that it was a guy, I think it was Razza or somebody like that, who stated that he felt that it was a lighter setup from the rear of the dart to the top of the flight, which gave him a flat throw. But to be honest with you, looking at it, they look a lot chunkier, and the material looks a lot more solid. So I'm not sure I'm going to get that problem. Might have the opposite. So anyway, let's have a chuck and chuck some arrows. See how we go. Welcome back, guys and girls. Just put a arrow in the board to show you what my normal angle, when I'm flowing well, what my normal angle of entry into the board is. Some people like to throw on top of their other darts. I generally prefer to throw underneath them. I can throw on top, but it means taking quite a lot of pace off them when I do it. Not that I'm an expert or anything like that, far from it. But that's my normal angle. I'm going to throw some darts now. First time I've thrown with these Flems and Stites, and hopefully they'll behave themselves. What I might do is if I'm finding that I'm getting flat darts, I might try them in a heavier set just to show you what they're like with a heavier set. I've got a pair of these in 26 gram as well. But let's just get on with it and have a look. I'll stop yakking on. So what I'm trying to do is trying to hit that first dart, see what the grouping's like with them. It doesn't look too bad. Flying quite nice. That's a bit flat for me. But certainly don't seem to be causing too many bad deflections. That's a bit flat, but that's the way I've thrown it, I think. So, but they're not flying too bad. They're hitting the board nicely. And those stems are turning a little bit. To help if I was getting my grouping a bit better. But they're flying nice and hitting the board nice. And when the darts are hitting each other, they seem to be they don't seem to be misbehaving. I've hit the flights a couple of times, haven't I? And doesn't seem to be a lot of damage to them, if anything at all. Obviously, they're going to get marked and scratched. I mean, the point I really want to make is, guys, is that nobody throws darts the same. But very few people, well, few people throw the same darts, but use a different setup. So it's all dependent on the individual, obviously. But certainly, I'm not noticing a great deal of difference when I'm throwing the darts right. They are a little bit flatter than I'd like them. rubbish dart. Yeah. Yeah, the back end seems to be dropping a little bit now, but that might be because I'm not fully concentrating. That's gone very flat. All three of those darts are not at an angle I'd like them to be at. So now I'm struggling to get underneath now to that treble 20. Normally if I'm above the treble 20 I've got a nice view of it. Like that. Now I'm basically able to go underneath that dart to the side of it. But some of them are actually flying how I like them, so it's probably something to do with the fact that one, I'm perhaps not throwing every dart consistently, or well, that's probably it, isn't it? They do seem to be a little bit flatter, although those two flew quite nice. So use a fault. Oh. Yeah, I can't really make my mind up whether these are actually flying flat or whether it's because I'm not throwing properly. So I guess that's what happens when an amateur test starts. So I'll throw them a bit harder, see what happens. Yeah, the harder I throw them, the flatter they seem to go. So we'll take a bit off it. But certainly they're not, there's no adverse effect on the darts when they're striking each other. Threw in a treble bread, wrong one though. Yeah, so probably took a while to get used to throwing them. Difference in balance, difference perhaps in back weight, but well, I'm quite impressed with those. They're not too bad. I don't think I'd change them from current setup, but I'm going to try them now in a heavier dart. We'll see what that's like. So these darts are 4 grams heavier than the last ones. And flatter still. But not much difference. But I would just like the darts to sit up a bit more, to be honest. That dart, that first dart, is no good for me. Great for Phil Taylor, but not so good for me. Oh. Maybe I should use these for the overstacker then. Not something I've been very good at, to be honest. But as I said, I don't think there's any bad reaction on the darts hitting each other caused by the flights and stands. So, as I said, it's going to be up to you guys how you feel you get on with these. I certainly think they're quite a good product. As I said, I don't think I'd swap them for my current setup because the darts aren't quite lying how I would want them to. Ah. So anyway, there you go. A slightly flatter dart for me with these, with the looks of it, which would probably mean I wouldn't swap it for my current setup, as I said. But yeah, quite a nice product. Just looking at the fly in detail, you're going to get scuffing, but to be honest with you, those edges look well reinforced. So I would imagine durability won't be too much of a problem with these. But they do fly quite nice, to be completely honest. There you go. Okay guys, I hope this helps anybody who's looking at these, and obviously the proof of the pudding's in the eating. Personally, on a personal level, I'd have to have a good long session with these and see if I could get them flying how I wanted them, but I would certainly use them and definitely use them outside based on the look of them and the durability of them. I'm rambling now, so it's time to switch off in it. But like I said, I hope this has helped you, and good luck if you decide to invest. Take care. God bless, folks.